drunken. This has not stopped people from doing things just because there's a ruling or an ordinance there from doing something that they shouldn't be doing. This is just another, I think, another way of not giving the residents or person a right that he has underneath the Second Amendment to be comfortable with it. Whether someone wears one or has one or not doesn't make them any more a discipline or a person of not common sense. Most of these things that do happen are people that are either in a rage or mentally deranged in some place, but the law-abiding person that would be in there would not hurt anything or do anything. And I'd like to hear comments from the rest of my fellow aldermen up here, but I in strong belief and being very involved with the hunter safety program in the state of Wisconsin. The over 1,000 people that we put through have never had any accident, from a 12-year-old to a grandma, aunt, uncle, and have, I think, supported the right of the individual. Thank you.
Alderman Solomon and Alderman Olson.
Two questions. You talked about the liability issue. Once you put up no guns allowed, the city then becomes responsible to be sure that nobody has a gun in the premises?
No. I can't answer the total liability issue. All I've heard some non-paid legal opinion on that, but nothing in depth. You probably want to look into that. If you know, you might want to look into it more in depth. But from what I was told, I mean, the immunity is pretty clear if you don't post. But the immunity lost because you do post, it's not automatic. It's not like you automatically give up your defense for anything that happens in the building just because it's posted no weapons. I think that's something you may want to explore. I don't know, Mark, you were going to look into it.
I do have a little bit more on that from a risk management perspective. If you post it, then you do gain some liability, but we don't lose our $50,000 cap that's in the state statutes. And I believe our insurance policies would continue to provide us with its normal coverages. We continue to have prohibition of punitive damages for torts and immunity from suit intentional acts of employees. So the regular municipal protections, the limits on liability are still there. But if we do post, then there would be an expectation that as the director responsible for facilities, I would then put together a policy to distribute to all employees so that they knew what would be our steps of carrying out enforcement, so that if somebody were identified to have a gun or a weapon in violation, how we were going to handle it, because the expectation of posting is that you then enforce that. And we'd probably look to have that out within about, at most 2 months, because I understand from the chief that the department, the state isn't going to start reviewing applications for concealed carry permits for 60 days after November 1st.
Well,
or issue.
They will not start taking applications November 1st, and they do have 45 days to process those at first, and then starting December, they have 21 days to process. But starting November 1st, out-of-state people with permits can carry.
So there could be some limited application, but as long as we were still timely in preparing a policy, distributing it, and informing employees of the building on what steps we could do, and I would probably consult with the police department in developing that policy.
My next question, Chief, is alluded to your first part of your statement in regards to what is a misdemeanor, so to speak, just a fine. of $25. What does this ordinance do to change that?
It won't change it much. We won't be able to increase that fine any more than the forfeiture, because we can't make an ordinance that's more restrictive than the state law. So the fines for those will still be $25. We can add court costs. It's just, it's something to be able to enforce that provision as opposed to nothing. So it's still not a huge, it's not a huge.
But this wouldn't encompass anything except if they come into a building that was posted.
The ordinances, that's one ordinance we're asking to cover the ignoring of the posted sign. The other one is for, the other two basically are permit related, where a person does not produce the permit when it's lawfully asked for, or the person's not carrying the permit when they're carrying their weapon.
What is section 1, item A, item 1, sub A, small a, relating to transporting of bows and firearms? What does that have to do with?
That has nothing to do with handguns. That basically relates to the carrying of long guns, rifles, and bows and arrows. There was some question regarding the enforcement with the new carry concealed weapon law, and again, this is another forfeiture related offense, and the statutes that I'd like to see added to our ordinances, so we have again some coverage and ability to at least give a city citation as opposed to nothing for someone carrying a rifle or shotgun.
But you can carry them in the trunk without any trouble, correct?
That's correct. Yeah,
You still want them in the car.
You don't want them in the passenger car loaded.
Okay, thank you. Item B then is related to the carry and display of concealed carry licenses. That means that you have to have a license on you.
You have to have a license
It's
on you.
concealed.
Right. And then even with the city citation here, or the ordinance if we pass it, someone carrying a weapon who has a license but doesn't have it on them can be cited, but they have 48 hours to produce it, and that ticket will be released.
Taillight violation.
Yeah.
So, releasable ticket.
Okay.
The next one is similar, but it's just it specifically addresses out-of-state former law enforcement officers, because there was a specific law section that talked about that. It talked about it being a forfeiture, so we included that in. D is the trespass or the ignoring of the posted sign. That forfeiture, I believe, can go up to $1,000. So that one is a little higher than the rest.
So if I'm carrying a concealed weapon and I happen to go on private property, a business, etc.,
That's posted.
that's posted, I can't go in the building with that gun,
Right.
correct? As long as it's posted.
As long as it's posted, prominently
But if
posted.
it's not posted, I can still have my gun in the car in the parking lot.
Even if it's posted, you can have your gun in the parking lot.
Correct.
You can't go into the building. If it's
Correct.
not posted at all, you can walk in with your gun.
Okay.
But now, again, I don't wanna get too deep in this, because this, I tell you, there's a lot to this law, a lot of things, but, a property owner does not have to have the building posted. If you walk in and it's not posted, and they say, you're carrying a gun, and you say, yeah, I got my gun with me, I don't allow guns in here. Orally, they can do it, or they can say, here, I got a policy, it's on a piece of paper here, it says no guns, leave your gun out. That's notice, as long as he gives you notice, you have to leave your gun.
Okay, I'm okay with